This is a short introduction for what we're going to ask you to do this week, Tuesday and Wednesday. We're going to ask you to generate variants or generate alternative solutions. A building design or an urban design is a complex thing with many aspects. So what will work for one of the aspects on one scale level might not work for another aspect. So in order to bring these things together, you probably need to scale, let's say, to generate a lot of different solutions for the different aspects. So when you bring everything together, you have options to choose from. This is the very simple explanation why it's good for a designer to have this skill of easily generating many different solutions. And we're going to ask you to do this week on two scale levels. And on the scale level of the city, so the urban level, and on the scale level of the building itself, the architecture, the floor plans of your design. And we're going to do this by using this book. It's called The Place of Houses by Charles Moore, Gerald, and Donlyn, Lyndon. It's a book about designing houses. And it's an American book which shows a bit in the choice of subjects. But anyway, they give for these two scale levels a few categories. And as an exercise in generating variants, generating alternative solutions, we're going to use these categories. So I'd like to start with the urban scale level of the city. The authors give 4 categories of ways of fitting a design to the context. In their case, it's fitting a house in a landscape. This is why it's American, maybe. They have a lot of space. And they say there are 4 ways of doing this. You could be merging your design to the context. The design could claim its context or its landscape where it sits in. It could be enfronting, so your design is, let's say, opposite another building. And the 4th way is your design could surround the context or a piece of the context. So to go through this very quickly, here we see a little house in a landscape and it merges more or less with the trees around it. In a building design, this could be, for example, this design by architects Rapp and Rapp in the Hoppemakade in Amsterdam, let's say, which very closely reacts to the existing building on the right of it. Another design by the same architect, Rapp and Rapp. On the left, you see an original city hall from 1890, more or less, with an extension by Rapp and Rapp on the right. And you see the new design tries to merge with the existing one. Second category was claiming. So your design could be, let's say, take the most important place in its context. This is the 21st Century Museum of Art in Kanazawa by architects Asana. I used this in one of the videos. You could say here, in some way, this building is, let's say, claiming its context. Then there's category number 3, enfronting, houses opposite of each other. This is a street in Groningen, the city of Groningen in the north of Holland. These houses, well, if you know it, they're in the street, so they're opposite the houses on the other side of the street. More or less in the middle, you see a newer design by Italian architect Giorgio Grassi for the public library in Groningen. You could also say this design is actually trying to merge in the existing context. So maybe this one does 2 things at the same time. It's enfronting, but it's also merging. And then the 4th category is surrounding, which would be any design with a courtyard, like this courtyard in the church by Jørgen Utzon in Copenhagen, in Denmark. Jørgen Utzon is the architect of the Sydney Opera House, which you probably know. Okay, so this was urban scale, city scale. Once again, merging, claiming, and fronting, and surrounding. So perhaps for your own design, try a few of these possibilities. What would it mean if your building has to merge in the urban context it is in, or what would it mean if it wants to claim the context? Same for fronting and for surrounding. Let's then go to building scale, architectural scale, and to be specific, the organization of the floor plans. The authors of The Place of Houses give 6 categories in this case. They say in a very simple way, rooms could be linked, just one room after the other in a linear sequence. Rooms could be bunched, so bunched together, put them in one big pile, let's say. Third category is rooms around a core, so that the plan is organized with an open or a closed core in the middle of the plan, but this core is clearly, let's say, organizing the whole plan. Then category number 4 is plans where very clearly rooms are organized reacting to the outside, or organized because the rooms have to be orientated towards the outside. This could be a house along a street where the main rooms look over the street, for example, or a house on a street corner, and then this orientation goes in 2 directions probably. Then category number 5 is, or 5 and 6 are both about one big room, which is clearly the most important room in the plan. Number 5 is a great room within, so there's a big hall in the center of the plan. And number 6 is maybe the opposite of this, when actually the building is one big room, and all the functions you need are organized in this one big open space. Okay, let's go quickly through this. Examples the authors give. Category number 1 was rooms linked. So they give an example of a small house in Portugal with 3 rooms in a row, or a more intricate example of a house in London by Robert Adam. Then there's rooms bunched, where all the rooms needed are, let's say, shoved together. Again, a house in Portugal and 2 houses in Japan, where this, let's say, bunching together of rooms is a recurring principle. Category number 3 was rooms around a core. So the center, all rooms are around one center. For example, famous atrium houses in Pompeii, near Naples in Italy, with their courtyard in the middle. A design by Louis Kahn, which also has an open space in the middle, or a design by their own. It's their own design actually, but also with one big open space in the middle. Then category number 4 was rooms enfronting the outside. Here are 2 examples. The left one a bit more complicated, so along a street, but also kind of dead-end street, where all the rooms are only oriented towards this dead-end street and the street itself, which you can see by the placement of the windows. The other example on the right is in Bath in England, where also the principal rooms are clearly orientated towards the outdoor space. In this case, in the circus, which is a circular square in Bath, the houses are also following this, the curve of this circle. Then the last 2 categories, a great room within. It's a bit similar as the 3rd category, let's say rooms around the core, but here let's say this core or the great room within is clearly a great room. So it is the biggest hall or clearly, let's say, the most important room in the building, maybe because its ceiling is much higher than the rest, for example. Last category is a great room encompassing. So the building is actually one big space, and all the functions are organized in this. This is an example of the glass house by Philip Johnson. You have to imagine the facades are completely made out of glass. It's a house, so you see a kitchen and a bathroom with a fireplace, and I think one shelf which fends off the place where you could sleep. But that's it. In principle, this house is one big room encompassing all the things you need in this house. So once again, for floor plans, 6 categories: rooms linked, rooms bunched, rooms around the core, rooms confronting the outside, a great room within, and number 6, a great room encompassing. So here's the same. Try for the organization of your design. Try a few of these possibilities, of these categories, as a exercise in generating different solutions before you decide on your final solution, which you're going to elaborate in your design. Good luck this week. Thank you very much.